What could they be? Firstly, we have introduced a brand new award, and this is the ALPS Impact Award. So this is a new award designed to recognize initiatives, projects, campaigns, collaborations within scholarly publishing and communication that have had or have the potential to have a big impact on the community. And following on from our first two sessions, and also from recent innovation entries award submissions, this was something that was underrepresented, so we've split that out into a separate award. And the impact might be on society, on attitudes, education, equality, diversity, accessibility, inclusion, the environment, or any area that could have a significant impact on people. So a brand new award, very exciting. The second big change, slightly scarily, is rather than just the judges deciding who the winners are, we actually asked all of our finalists to actually make a 5-minute video, put those on the ALPS website, and got you to actually vote for who you thought should be the winner as well. So thank you for those of you that have voted, and we've combined those votes in with the judges' scores this year. I would like to say a big thank you to our judging panel. We had 13 amazing people from across the community, publishers, libraries, industry, standards bodies, consultants, vendors, and so on, and from 3 different continents. So thank you very much to all of our 13 judges there. So this year we had almost 30 submissions across the 2 awards. And we've actually managed to narrow that down to 4 finalists, 4 for the Impact Award and 4 for the Innovation Award. So this year, our 4 finalists for the ALPS Impact Award are Africa Commons, eLife's New Model of Scientific Publishing, IOPP Double Anonymous and Transparent Peer Review, and Original Etude for the Developing Conductor. And our 4 finalists for the Innovation Award are Bilingual Journal Workflows from CreaDocs and Medwave, BMJ Impact Analysis, Cassini Journal Seminar Series, and Skoll AR. So could we take a moment to congratulate all 8 of our finalists? Down here. So in this session, you're going to hear a 5-minute overview of each of those submissions from our finalists. I will try and keep everybody to time. So we're going to start off with the Impact Award. Our first speaker is Elizabeth Roby from Africa Commons. She's going to be presenting via a video, and then everybody else is going to be live. So we will fire up Elizabeth and over to Africa Commons.
Thank you to the ALPS committee. We're honored to be here in the company of the other finalists and to have the opportunity to tell you about our community-driven project, Africa Commons. Africa is home to approximately 17% of the world's population, but research shows that African knowledge is underrepresented in digital spaces, making up about 4% of the world's digital knowledge. So as the global librarian community works to decolonize library collections, Africa Commons is one resource to help close this representation gap and to make African knowledge more accessible and therefore have a greater impact in the scholarly community. My slides will address how we're working to do this. Africa Commons is a collaborative project to index, preserve, and discover African cultural materials. So far, we have indexed over 600 African organizations, over 400,000 documents, and millions of pages, video, and audio recordings from openly available sites around the world. This database is supported through library subscriptions and one-time purchases, and these subscriptions and purchases help support free access to African institutions as well as historically Black colleges and universities in the U.S. 10% of the sales are allocated for new digitization projects sourced and digitized in Africa, and we offer free hosting of content for those in Africa and for those who subscribe. The content dates from 1030 to present and includes a wide variety of resources: books, magazines, newspapers, posters, letters, diaries, art, music, videos, and more. We select quality materials from openly available sites around the world, index them, and provide a simple but powerful search that links users from our platform back to the original sites, thus driving traffic back to the content providers. Where rights permit, we maintain backup copies of content, so if websites go down or funding is lost, the content is preserved. So we essentially have a safeguard with these backup copies that we can deploy if needed. Africa Commons is an ever-growing resource. The database is constantly being updated with additional content as recommended by our board of advisors, faculty, students, and librarians. Users can upload content themselves that they hold rights to, or link out to content with our simple user interface. They can also make lists for teaching and research and can share these lists with the community. I'll now play an 80-second video featuring Dr. Bujle Mabambo Tata. She is the chair of our distinguished board of advisors who have been integral in the creation of this project.
I'm really passionate about decolonizing knowledge. And I say this from a very good position of my heart. So you might have seen some research I've done and some research out there that says there's 4% African content in digital spaces. And yet the population of Africa is between 17 and 20% of the world. And that seems incongruent and not right for me. Africa Commons project really solves many problems because it will increase the visibility, it will preserve African content in digital spaces, and it will make African content discoverable in digital spaces. And that will begin to work towards closing that gap. It's a very simple thing to do. Make other voices heard in the knowledge spaces and listen to those other voices, and you'll be decolonizing the knowledge spaces. Africa Commons is part of the work of building this cathedral and a crucial part.
Dr. Bujle talks about how this work is like building a cathedral. It will take generations to complete. With Africa Commons, we hope we're making a contribution towards building that cathedral by helping to decolonize knowledge spaces and disseminate African materials to scholars throughout the world. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Elizabeth. So next up, we're going to hear about eLife's new model of scientific publishing. So please welcome Fiona Hutton. The floor is yours.
Hi there, thank you very much. My name is Fiona Hutton. I'm the head of publishing at eLife. So today I'll talk about eLife's new model of publishing. So a little bit about eLife first. It was established in 2011. These are our funders. Our mission is to accelerate research through publishing, technology, and culture reform. So one of the things that I think everybody agrees with is that the current system could be improved. It's slow. It takes almost 9 months from submission to publication. Undervalues the time of academics. You know, they spend a lot of time on peer review and trying to get things published. It doesn't give enough control to authors. And it focuses more on where an article is published rather than the research that's published itself. So there's a movement for change. 2023 is the Federal Year of Open Science. And a lot of these ideals is something that we share at eLife. We're aiming to advance the adoption of open, equitable, and secure science. And we think that preprints are the first step in a new process that can encompass this. So we asked ourselves, what would a better model for publishing look like if it was centered on preprints? And so what would we improve? We'd make it faster, good for science, good for scientists, more transparent, more control to the authors, and better value. So this is the eLife model. It looks pretty similar to most other publishing models at the start. Submission, decision to review, then there's peer review and a consultation between the editors and the reviewers, and the authors are given a chance to respond. At that point, we publish what's called a reviewed preprint. The reviewed preprint contains a public assessment, an eLife assessment, and public reviews. At that point, we're not making a decision, a binary decision, whether to accept or reject a manuscript. We're giving the author's choice about what to do next. Now, they can revise it and perhaps get an updated eLife assessment. They can say, I've finished there, I want to send the article, I want to create a version of record and send it for indexing. Or they can take it to somewhere else and put it to another journal, send it to another journal. So how it looks, this is a reviewed preprint. It looks like an academic paper, but it's got very clear indicators about exactly what it is, the timeline, it's got a link to the public peer reviews, and it has this e-life assessment, which sits below the abstract and contains some common vocabulary. Now, the common vocabulary is made up of two different factors. One, looking at the significance of findings, and the second, strength of evidence. Now, the editors and the reviewers come up with a consensus statement about the article itself. So we think this is faster. Obviously, preprints are posted immediately. It only takes 1 to 3 months to post these reviewed preprints. It's good for science. These are detailed assessments on individual papers. It's not just accept or reject. And so we think this transparency increases scrutiny and therefore leads to acceleration of discovery. It's good for scientists. It values the time of those authors and the reviewers. There's quality indicators. It aligns with funder requirements. It's more transparent. There's assessment criteria is visible. The peer review comments are published. The author comments are published. The versions are tracked. And it gives more control to the authors. They choose how to respond to reviews. They choose what amendments to make, and they decide when they want to make their version of record. It's better value. The publishing fee is reduced to $2,000. We're a not-for-profit. We're trying to sustain our publishing model, not to make profit out of it. We've obviously got full waivers as well. So what's the impact of this? This is the impact awards, right? When we announced the new model, it had over 1 million impressions on Twitter. It was the day Liz Truss resigned. We were trending on Twitter because this is such a huge impact to the academic community. They want to see change. They want to see change in publishing. So there was a great deal of interest in this. There's been a huge amount of discussion in the press. We've had lots of different people commenting, looking at the positives and the negatives of it. So how's it going? You know, since we launched the new model at the end of January, we've had 4,000 submissions. We're publishing reviewed preprints all the time. We're nearing 500 of them. You know, we're really excited to make that contribution to the evolution of publishing. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Fiona. So next up is IOPP Double Anonymous and Transparent Peer Review, and talking about that is Kim Eggleton. Kim.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for inviting me. So my name's Kim Eggleton. I'm the Head of Peer Review and Research Integrity at IOP Publishing. And in 2021, we went through as an organisation a transition on all our journals where we allowed authors to choose whether they would like to use the traditional, in physics anyway, single anonymous peer review method, or actually go to the effort of doing double anonymous. And at the same time, we also, and we're still doing this to be fair, are transitioning all of our journals onto what we call transparent peer review. So that is the publication of the peer review reports at the point of publication as well. The position we're in now in 2023 is that we have a full year of data, that's our 2022 year of data, where we can actually see the impact that this has had. And what we went into this hoping that we were going to do was reduce bias and increase transparency. And I'm really pleased to say that I think we've managed to tick both of those boxes. So to share some data with you, looking at how double anonymous affects bias, in 2022, 19% of our authors elected to use double anonymous rather than single anonymous method. A larger proportion of female compared to male authors chose to anonymise their work. There is a proportion of non-binary in there as well, but it's not a big enough proportion to be statistically significant yet, although that number is growing. And I should say that these are self-declared gender identification as well. This is not inferred from any kind of database or AI. Interestingly as well, experience level made a difference on whether people were willing to anonymise their work or wanted to maintain the single anonymous method. And it basically works on a scale of seniority. The early career researchers are much more open to working with an anonymous method, whereas experienced researchers do not particularly engage with that process. What I was really thrilled to discover was that contrary to some other studies that have been done historically, under IOP, if you anonymise your work, you are more likely to be accepted. And that works across the board, regardless of your demographic background, so regardless of your gender, regardless of your geographical place of work, regardless of your career stage. So I think that is really phenomenal, and I'm really pleased to say that it does appear that that may be helping to reduce bias. And just to look into this in a little bit more detail, we've looked at this through a lens of prestige bias. So we can see that low citation authors, so people with a lower index, are more likely to be accepted under the double anonymous method, whereas that's less effective for people the higher up their H index is, which I think is fantastic. Authors from Africa, this is the killer stat for me, authors from Africa are more than twice as likely to have their work accepted if they take their names off the manuscript. That to me is astonishing. There are other effects around the globe, but none quite as pronounced as Africa. Authors from the USA are the least likely to benefit, which isn't a massive surprise, but they do still benefit. They are still more likely to have their work accepted. And finally, looking at the gender lens, people who identify as women are more likely to anonymise their work, but they're also more likely to have their work accepted than men. So where men were more likely to have their work accepted under the single anonymous method, that is not true for the double anonymous method, and actually women, for the first time I've ever seen, have the upper hand in acceptance figures. So just 3 lenses here to look at that double anonymous, and it's really, really encouraging that this is potentially a genuine way of reducing that bias in peer review. There is a number of other statistics there, but it's really basically just a summary of what I've just said. So at the moment we've been looking at prestige bias, gender bias, and geographical bias. But what we're also seeing is that people who perceive they don't have as much of a voice, so in physics that would extend to women and non-binary people. It would also extend to authors from the Global South, but also early career researchers are all much more likely to choose to anonymise their work. And I think that whether people are actually being biased against or towards people is not necessarily the issue, it's that perception of bias. And what we're showing in double anonymous is that that perception of bias can be reduced. So that's the end of my presentation. I think what is really remarkable about this is that we are able to blend 2 different innovative parts of peer review together. So double anonymous, it's not in itself that innovative. Social science has been doing it for a long time. But to introduce it to STM is quite new and quite, I hate to say bold because it shouldn't be bold, but it is. And that's certainly the reaction that we've had from some parties, is that, whoa, this is too much. But then blending that with transparent peer review so that we've got that maximum objectivity during peer review, but then maximum transparency at the point of publication, so that our readers can be reassured that it's gone through a rigorous process of assessment. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Kim. And then finally, for the Impact Awards, we're going to hear from Anita Walls on the original etude for the developing conductor. So, Anita.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Anita Wells. I'm the Assistant Director for Open Education and Scholarly Communication Librarian at Virginia Tech in the U.S. Original Etudes for the Developing Conductor was designed to bring some life into conducting texts by expanding the canon of etudes, or short studies. These are short pieces designed to bring practice material for perfecting a particular musical skill within the classroom. So Etudes is an openly licensed, open access, and peer-reviewed publication. And we are aiming to do several things. One is to bring life by honoring and showcasing living and diverse composers. Did you know that in the 5 major conducting textbooks, there is only 1 white person, not 1 non-white person, and 1 woman represented? We're aiming to showcase contemporary compositional techniques which enable teaching in different areas, which are largely missing from the current textbooks. We're also aiming to supply user-centric navigation and multiple access points. Who ever thought that hyperlinks, having a YouTube channel, and using QR codes could make such a difference in learning for students? So today's opportunities are different. We have some opportunities beyond public domain sources, which are what typically have been used in conducting books. And while we love our classics, the availability of supportive programs in library publishing, digital publishing technologies, coupled with funding, open licenses, and a whole lot more, allow us to realize our vision for this value-driven, user-centric, composer-honoring set of creative works. Original Etudes for the Developing Conductor is both an example of the ethos of conducting and a proof of concept. Let me explain. Learning to communicate your own interpretation to a piece of music is a central part of being a conductor. Because of the open license on this book, students studying music are doing transformative things not only by conducting the pieces, but adding their interpretation, rearranging the pieces, and further sharing them according to their interpretive vision, as allowed by the open license. Secondly, conductors can now teach different content that was previously not available because of this material. Third, from our conversations with instructors and students, this work is a dream to navigate with its use of hyperlinks and QR codes. No more page turns. The full volume of this is 700 pages. So there are quite a lot of page turns that you normally would need to implement in your course. And then, did you know it's very difficult to presently have compositions published without a very wide commercial audience? So composers in this situation are actually getting published. They are compensated upfront. They are not wondering, will there be any royalties? And finally, they've also been able to bring forth their best creative work, maybe or maybe not, without influence by what markets, they've been able to bring forth their best creative work without influence by what markets may or may not bear. So in submitting this nomination, we hope for several things. First, we wanted to honor and highlight these living and diverse composers for their works. We wanted the students to see that people like them and different than them can be composers, conductors, and performers. And third, we hope that you will catch our vision and implement some of what we have done with open licenses, open access, library publishing, and representation in your work. From our whole team, we are very honored to have been shortlisted for this award. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anita. Thank you. Okay, so they are the nominees for the Impact Award. So we're now going to switch gear to the Innovation Award, and we're going to start off with bilingual journal workflows from CareerDocs and Medwave, and Viviane Bachelet is going to speak to that. So Viviane.
Okay, so this one. Hi, I'm very pleased to be here and very honored. I will be presenting on behalf of CareerDocs and my journal what we've been doing in bilingualism. Language is intrinsic to the expression of culture. And this is what guides us, and this is what has guided all of the work that we have done up to now. So that's me. I'm Associate Professor of the University of Santiago of Chile. My native language is Spanish and English. My mother was American. My father was Chilean. And I'm speaking, as I said before, on behalf of CareerDocs and my own medical journal. A little bit of story. So here we're talking about an innovation that we developed to fulfill the journal's mission to serve a Spanish-speaking region, which is Latin America, basically, promoting locally pertinent research in the local language while ensuring full global impact. Our decision was to transition from only Spanish, which is what we published originally when we began, to full bilingualism, which includes English, under a single DOI at no extra cost to authors, with high consistency standards at the right cost-benefit point. And so what was the solution that we came up with? To create a platform that handles bilingual submissions from peer review all the way to final decision and to the production stage, all bilingually. So this is, I'm going to skip the peer review part because it's pretty standard, submission, peer review rounds and all that. So just to focus on the part that is most challenging for us, which is to develop a technology platform that will sustain the production process for 2 languages simultaneously. So of course we have the traditional pre-editing, the copy editing in Spanish when the manuscripts are submitted in Spanish. It goes to copy editing with our technical Spanish editor, and the to and fro with the authors for the proofs. And then it goes to publisher check, at which point it falls into the purview of the English technical editor. And this is where we think we are doing something quite innovative and important. When we are able to translate the Spanish manuscript, so the results of research that was conducted in the local language, written out in the local language for the purpose of serving our region, but we translate it into English to have the full global impact of the research that is done in our continent. So we use artificial intelligence to do a very effective and quick translation into English. And this is under the technical responsibility of our editors, of our English language editors. It goes back and forth, it's copy edited, goes back and forth with the authors until it falls into the lane of the translator review, which is the second lane to the right. And this is where the consistency check is done between the technical English editor, that is, the technical English editor that also looks at the Spanish version, because this person is also a subject matter expert. So that's very human. Of course, we use AI in the first part of the process, but we do need a very strong human hand to single out errors and also correct the Spanish version in order to have fully consistent versions. And then it goes all to review and the final deliverables, which we all know about. So we have developed a unique innovation that is technology-based, scalable in time with further machine learning enhancements, not labor-intensive for technical editors, and efficient, which makes it possible to have local science serving local and regional populations with a broader global impact. And of course, there are many benefits to this: the simultaneous publication of the 2 languages, a bigger and more diverse reviewer pool, enhanced appeal for authors, financial sustainability. We've done well with this. The authors are happy. We support the voices of local researchers, which we believe is fundamental. We have been able to bridge geopolitical divides through diversity and inclusivity, and this is at no expense to the authors. So we think that we are helping to set new standards for the publishing industry by encouraging publishers to embrace multilingualism in scholarly publishing. This is a call to you all. And we have been able to demonstrate a viable model for sustainable bilingual publication to inspire also state-funded presses to use this kind of a technology, promoting diversity, of course, and we think we are serving the concept of globalism, which is bringing together local realities, but within the global sphere in which we all live in contemporary times. So this is it. That's the interface for the back office, which is the technology, and our journal, MedWave, the homepage. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Vivian. Okay, next up then is BMJ Impact Analysis, and Michelle Phillips is going to tell us about that. Michelle.
Hello, my name's Michelle Phillips and I'm the Open Research Product Manager at BMJ. So I know that many in the audience are going to know BMJ and our publishing activities with our range of journals and also the BMJ. But I guess you might be wondering why we've become so interested in real-world impact. And the reason behind this is that as part of our vision for a healthier world, we went out and actively spoke with funders, researchers and institutions about all the challenges that they're facing in the way that the research environment is changing. And one thing that came through really clearly was the theme of real-world impact. So what we learned is that research that matters to patients, or research that improves patients' lives actually, matters deeply to funders, institutions and researchers because they dedicate so much of their time and their resources to this. But it's really quite difficult to find evidence of any changes to health improvement and just really understand how the research relates to changes in the real world. We found out so much from many people on the ground about what pain points there are around real-world impact. And we took what we learned from that process to develop BMJ Impact Analytics in collaboration with Overton. We worked with Overton because we could both see that there were some exciting possibilities for the more in-depth understanding of medical and health research impact. And so BMJ Impact Analytics as a product combines Overton's data knowledge and BMJ's health knowledge. So it's a tool that's created especially for the medical and health research community. So as I mentioned, BMJ Impact Analytics is focused very much on health and social care. And what this does as a benefit is that it allows us to provide 3 to 5 times more results for health research outputs. We learned from our user research that tracking the real-world impact of health and medical research was both time-consuming and costly. So this new tool provides trustworthy evidence of how the research outputs of a university, a researcher or a funder is influencing policy, how it's changing health patient care, and ultimately how it's changing people's lives for the better. And the data itself is drawn from the broadest range of medical sources worldwide, and it includes sources such as Care Pathways and BMJ Impact Analytics. So these are tools that are used by doctors at the point of care to make decisions in health. And the benefit of this is that it takes the user closer to understanding how their research has affected patients and medical care on the ground. So the key features of BMJ Impact Analytics are very much driven from what we learnt from medical funders and researchers and what they told us was really important to them. So one of the biggest issues that came up when we spoke to people was the issue of trying to save time, but that shouldn't be at the expense of actually fully understanding the evidence that they're assessing. And now the user can achieve that with this tool in just a matter of clicks. And because we actually link out to the original source, so we link out to the clinical guidance or the health policy, the user can actually go directly to the point in that document where their research has been used as evidence for some sort of change. And it really leaves it up to the person who's actually assessing the evidence to draw conclusions about the value of that evidence. And very much that movement that Elizabeth mentioned in her keynote, where we're moving more into really assessing things within context rather than just driving it down to one number. And they can also get much closer to patient outcomes. And this is what we're able to offer through our broader coverage of sources, including BMJ best practice. So if you're not familiar with BMJ best practice, it's a tool that's actually used by the NHS But in addition to that, outside of the UK, it's used by over 10 million users, and it's used at the point of decisions about care. And users now can search over 30,000 global organisations. And in addition to that, we have a dedicated team adding new sources all the time. They can focus down by what's important to them, so whether that's region, country, the type of source, or even the publisher or the journal that the research has been published in. In addition to that, they can see which authors are having influence within certain policy areas. And they can also filter down by things that might be important, such as the OA status of the paper. So engagement with the health research community has allowed us to create a tool that reflects what they want to search, analyse, and then share about their impact. The focus on health and medical research has enabled us to provide a much greater depth of important sources. And this coverage just continues to evolve because we learn so much more from our customers and the people that are trialling the product about what evidence is important to them. And then we've also got the team that's actually assessing the sources from the BMJ side. And the inclusion of best practice was in response to what we learnt about what importance people place on measuring research from the benchtop, to the bedside, and how important that is in terms of really understanding the value of that research. We've designed the interface in a very user-friendly way, and that's to really include all the researchers in the institution in this impact journey and help people who are trying to build an impact culture within their organisation. And this helps researchers and institutions understand how to plan their research with impact in mind. So we've been really excited about the way that BMJ Impact Analytics has been received by the community. And we're going to continue our very user-focused approach to developing the product. So we're going to have many more things to announce about this product in future. But in the meantime, we're really honoured to be nominated and be in such an amazing company as a finalist for this award. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, next up then is Cassini Journal Seminar Series, and Ben Kalber is going to be presenting that. So, Ben.
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Ben Kalber, one of the co-founders of Cassini. And I'd like to talk a little bit about seminars and how journals can use seminars to engage their communities, and in particular use that to attract submissions, grow their journal usage, and also make a positive difference in terms of research integrity. But let me start from the beginning. What is a seminar even? Well, seminars have been a core part of research culture really for as long as there's been research departments, and are a key way that researchers will disseminate their findings. And when I think back to my own experiences as a researcher, one of the highlights of my week would be going to the seminar room at the end of the corridor and listening in presentations about the latest work in my field. And at the end of the presentation, getting a chance to interact with the people actually doing the work, ask them questions, and glean some insights that I couldn't have got from the paper by itself. And one of the things that's happened following the pandemic is that these seminars have moved online and out of the sort of seminar rooms in the research departments. And that means that journals can now also participate in the seminar ecosystem. And in a way, the journal is the sort of natural hub of the seminar. And what we're trying to do with Cassini is make it possible for journals to really easily spin up seminar series and use that as a way to bring together the communities of authors, of editors, of readers around particular topics. And so we've built a platform that makes this really easy to do, to have engaging, sort of intimate community events that bring these people together. And you can also think about these seminars as a really useful author service. So if you're a researcher, you've just published, one of the key things you want to do is to increase the exposure of your work, let more people hear about it. And we've produced a tool that makes it really easy for researchers to publish seminars to accompany their journal articles, either pre-recorded or in a live journal setting. What's really nice about seminars is that the recordings that come out of them are really, really engaging content. And so for many people, having the opportunity to watch a 20-minute seminar can be a really nice accompaniment to a 20-page manuscript. And we try to make these seminars as accessible and as discoverable as possible. So one of the things that we do is we assign DOIs to each of the seminars so that they can be really found very easily using existing research tools. We go way beyond that, though. We've developed an AI that will watch the seminars for you and identify the key moments, and then allow those key moments to be connected to particular parts of the journal article being cited in the seminar. So in the screenshot here, you can see an example of what that looks like. Cassini's AI has identified the mention of a reference, and you've got a sort of magical user experience there where you can click on the reference and be taken right to that part of the journal article that's being mentioned. As you might expect, that has a very positive impact on journal usage. And so in the analysis we've done with journals that have been running seminar series for over a year, we see a 15 to 30% increase in the amount of usage as a result of running those seminar series. And you can see a chart here of what it might look like for a typical article in terms of downloads following a seminar. You can see there's a spike in activity, and then even long after the seminar has run, there's a sort of persistent tail effect there as more people discover the article through the seminar. But it's not just increased usage. Another big benefit is in terms of submissions. And what we see is that these seminars are a great way to engage your pool of authors, not just your existing authors, bringing them together, engaging them in a really compelling way, but also attracting new authors as well that might be interested in publishing in your journals. And so in a very real sense, you can think about today's seminar participants as being tomorrow's authors. And this also bears out in the data. We've been doing some analysis where we look at, okay, after you've attended a seminar, does that actually have an impact in your propensity to publish in a journal? And after a year, we looked at some journals that had been running seminars, and we could find that in 20% of the cases, the submissions could be tied back to people that actually tuned into previous seminars. So there's a clear kind of quantitative case to be made there. The last benefit I wanted to focus on is one that's very close to my heart around research integrity. And as we all know, there's a big problem around paper mills and the rogue use of generative AI. And when we think about the problem, one of the things that comes to mind is that we've really disintermediated the creators of research, the scientists, the researchers actually doing the work, from the consumers of research. There's a lot of context, a lot of information that goes missing when we funnel that research into just a paper for someone to read at the other side. And we hope that we can have a positive impact in terms of introducing more trust into the process, letting people have more confidence in the research they're reading if they can actually interact with the researchers that are producing it. And we think that the seminar is the ideal forum for that. Great opportunity to connect the humans, the real people doing the research, trying to reproduce research, read the research, and Cassini's seminar series make that possible at scale in a really engaging way. So that finally brings us on to our mission of creating a vibrant and connected ecosystem that enables millions of online seminars. And if you'd like to find out more about seminars to maybe help your journals, feel free to find me afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ben. And then the last of our Innovation Award presentations is going to be on Skull AR, and Tyler Ard is going to present that. So Tyler, over to you.
One moment here. So yeah, I'm Tyler Ard. I'm going to be presenting about Scholar. And what Scholar is a way to integrate data directly into publications in a way where any reader can point a mobile device at an article and immediately see the data that underlies that article. And here we're demonstrating that being done through augmented reality on mobile. But importantly, we know that many readers do not like to use mobile devices when reading scientific articles. So all Scholar augmentations can also be seen directly through a web viewer without a phone at all, where you can immediately display the article and the data directly on top of that article that goes with it in a way that's interactive for the reader and very enlightening is the goal here. We're doing this with many different types of data formats that span many different fields, video, 3D models, image stacks, volumes, and more, and we're really looking to expand that out as we go forwards. The goal of this project is to really get past the simplification of scientific data down into 2D static figures for publication. And importantly, we're trying to do that in a way that directly targets the general readership. So this is not designed like a data repository where researchers can go and download a massive amount of information that they can then analyze or visualize with their own software. This is designed so every single reader of a scientific article can immediately see the data that's associated with that article as they're reading it. So to be able to get this to every reader, we know we need to cover the bases of how people like to read articles in mobile, print, and web. And we also need to make it as accessible as possible so people don't have to go out of their way. A good chunk of that we do through single-click links, where we can provide a single link that will open both an article and the data simultaneously. So it's as easy to see the article as it is to see the data. And this is, of course, through both browsers and web on top of all of our AI viewing capabilities. So again, all Scholar augmentations operate in all of these mediums. But we know we need to be more than just hyper-accessible for readers to really be successful here. We need to be very beneficial for publishers and very accessible to authors as well. So on that front, we're not requiring authors to do any technical programming, any XML, HTML, or anything like that to augment their articles. Instead, authors can simply write articles like they always have, using Word or LaTeX or whichever mediums that they prefer. The only difference is if they'd like to augment their article, they can go to scholar.io and they upload any figures from their manuscript that they would like to augment. Then they upload the data that they want on top of that figure, or multiple figures. Once that's done, they immediately receive a QR code. Once you put that QR code in the document, you're good to go. And that can be part of a subfigure as well. Anywhere in the document works. So the whole process is designed to take less than 5 minutes and really be approachable to authors from all backgrounds. For publishers, not only does this need to be highly beneficial, but it needs to be extremely easy to integrate into the existing publishing system. So on that note, it already is. It already works in all publishers and in all journals. And the way we were able to accomplish this is with a particular approach where we're not looking to replace the PDF with a full digital standard. And then we have to approach every journal and every publisher and say, would you please implement this technology? Instead, what we're doing is we're augmenting the PDF and other documents with the simple inclusion of a QR code. Again, once that QR code is in the document, everything just automatically works. So simply stated, if you can publish a PDF, all of Scholar's capabilities are already working and can already work for you. This is really important because publishers can offer their authors and readers very technical capabilities without having to risk costly and risky technical overhauls, without having to provide any technical support at all, and while also providing a very smooth peer review and editorial process, because the first article being submitted to a journal through this can be a fully augmented and data-inclusive article as step one of the submission process. And that's very accessible to both peer reviewers and editors that way. This can be seen in a number of fully published articles already across a variety of journals and publishers. And again, no one had to do a single thing to get this working inside their systems. It just automatically works all the way across. And it's also being adopted into scientific conferences as well, because our technology is very well suited to also augment posters, and people are very excited about that, and we're very excited about that also. So that's Scholar. Please check out the project at scholar.io, or if you have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. If you can come up to me here, or there's my contact information. And thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you very much, Tyler. So there we have it. You've heard our 4 impact finalists and our 4 innovation finalists. Thank you to everybody that presented. As you can see, as the judges, we had our work cut out to come up with some winners, but we have arrived at our decisions. All will be revealed tomorrow night at the awards dinner. But could we just show our appreciation once again for all of our finalists? Thank you.